Folks, welcome back inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app and stream all of our live local programming, including yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. And we can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And before I started my journey 5 years ago, I was spiritual, but not necessarily in the sense of believing in the spirit. And but along the way here, being able to interview these luminaries and icons of music, it's validated to me that in fact the spirit is very real, that love is very real, and then when the time is right, everything falls into place. And the period of time that I focused on most extensively is the period of 65 to 75 in our country in the 20th century. And one of the greatest writing tandems of that time were Delbert McClinton and Glen. And I had a chance to talk to Delbert the other day, and he gave me Glen's number. And sure enough, I get a chance now to kick it with Glen. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I can't complain. I mean, I get a chance to talk to Delbert and you in the same week after about 4 years. I never really knew if I was ever going to get a hold of you guys. And then it just all of a sudden became very... Can you talk about that, Glen, the idea of attainment when you sort of almost give up on something, but then when the timing is right, everything just falls into place? Can you talk about a time in your musical career when that happened?
You know, that probably happened for me in the late 60s, early 70s. Delbert and I were working in Fort Worth a lot, and we wanted to do original material, and they wanted to do cover songs in Fort Worth. They weren't interested in any original material. And it became a thing where I just had to let go of the security blanket of being in a comfort zone, and went to L.A. and I just broke my give a shitter. Everything really kind of it allowed me to go for it all the way, not be restricted by somebody saying, "Oh, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. If you want to work here and make money." And I found L.A. to be an environment that was, at that time, really conducive to creativity. I was really lucky. I mean, one of the first people I met was John Hartford, who at the time had written a lot of Glen Campbell hits, and Glen Campbell had a TV show, and John was hot as a pistol, but he was just like the guy next door. You know, it was like, it became a thing where I could see me being successful doing something I love to do, because this guy was so down to earth, and it was attainable. It made it, you know, that's just one example of people that I met that were really accessible, but they were doing something that I really wanted to do, and they'd become quite successful at it in a way that didn't compromise their integrity. They made, you know, they did what they wanted to do, and it was about their song. So I think that's when meeting Daniel Moore and working in an environment with those people that saw a way to use your creativity and really enjoy it and have something to show for it.
So, I mean, you had been working on original tunes. You were working them out in those West Texas towns of Abilene, but so it wasn't like you had never played your tunes before, but this was just going into one of the hotbeds of regional music in the country and just sort of just bearing yourself naked. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, yeah, it's putting it on the line and feeling, you know, for stops and free to just another word for nothing left to lose.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I love that line. Oh, man. Good.
You put it out there and you make the decision, you know, I'm going to go for this, and it becomes something, you don't look at the downside at all. And that to me was the freedom. That gave me the freedom to say, I came from an environment where, I was really expected to become a lawyer or a businessman or anything but a musician. And so I think that that gave me the belief in myself in a way to pursue being a songwriter, which is now tougher than ever, I think. But back then it was tough. But Delbert and I considered ourselves to be young, tough, and stupid.
That's the best way to be, man. I mean, and especially down in Texas. I mean, can you talk about one reason I really wanted to talk to you was just about even before you moved to Los Angeles. I have that record, Delbert and Glen, and I just love the tunes on it. And there's something about I just wonder about if you could talk a little bit about being in Texas, a lot of open space during segregation, loving race records, and yet how can you talk about a conception of a song, how you conceive songs? Because I don't want anyone to think that it's like about reinventing the wheel. And at the same time, I'd like to go a little bit deeper than just, I love you, you love me, I want you back, that kind of superficial stuff. How do you keep it simple, but yet you go deep?
Keep it simple, but yet what was the last part, Jake?
Keep it don't get overcomplicated, but still go below the surface so that the lyrics and the stories have resonance.
Well, I learned a lot from Delbert in that respect, and I grew up in the Church of Christ, and my father was a song leader, and it was a minimalist environment, and I won't say always, but one of my philosophies is less is often more. And it became a benchmark for me in my work. If I could make it really impactful, simple, but yet have this, I could get my point across and keep it simple that would stand the test of time. And Delbert used to say, we're saying the same thing a lot of people are saying. We're just trying to say it a little differently and use maybe less words. I kind of feel like that the money talks and bullshit walks philosophy was you let your lyrics have to stand out there. They've got to stand up, and it has to be something that you can believe in and people can relate to. And a lot of times that comes from personal experience or inspiration by other artists or other forms of art, and by anger, by frustration, by sadness, by joy. So to me it's about getting an idea that I think I can complete the thought with and be true to myself and say something that will stand the test of time. It has some truth to it,
Talking to Glen Clark here on the Jake Feinberg Show. I mean, can you talk about being in LA and then, being in the recording studios, but you had so much music. Did you go out and play live in LA? And who were you playing with? Because there were so many cats. One reason I love Delbert and Glen, those albums, Subject to Change, you were using so many studio cats that I've interviewed, like Garnett Brown, great horn sections. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, Delbert, and maybe those cats just went out and played for free at night. I just would love to know the club you were playing at, because you were doing this mix of Gulf Coast, Texas soul, and I just would love to know where you guys were just being able to just get stuff off your chest.
We were really lucky. Like I said, one of the first bands we were in was a four-piece band with Delbert and I, five-piece band. Delbert and I, and a guitar player named Steve Auburn, and a drummer named Roy Clark that had migrated from Texas as well, who was a friend of ours. And Lee Spar was the bass player. When we landed in Topanga Canyon, Lee Spar was living in the canyon, and one of the first few gigs we did was that band, and we just did private parties, and we didn't make any money. and we played the Corral in Topanga Canyon with other musicians, and we played Harry's in Venice with Jesse Ed Davis, who was, we were big Taj Mahal fans, and of course Taj had a couple records out that we were nuts about, and Jesse Ed Davis had played on those records, and so the people we got to play with, we loved. I mean, you know, and money wasn't a factor, and we were working day job. We were working in a warehouse. We weren't making any money playing, but we were recording, and we were doing demos, and that was what was our goal was, or that was the light at the end of the tunnel for us. You know, we felt like we were pretty good, that we could rock, that we could play some music and make some good music, you know, and we found people that had been doing that liked what we did. So it was affirmation of what you aspire to do.
I love that line. I mean, Delbert was talking about his blood started to boil when he was going by this black barbecue joint, listening to listening to cats like Big Joe Turner. I mean, can you just paint the picture? I'm 38 years old. I mean, to me, it's like I've always been curious about the story I've heard is that you had this thing called race records, but then that term became kind of offensive. And so some kind of lawsuit was settled that they change it to rhythm and blues. And then when Elvis started to sing, a lot of cats thought he was black. So his music was rhythm and blues, but when they found out he was white, they changed that music, and that became rock music. And I'm just curious if you could talk about the first time that you really heard a labels for music, and how and if you think labels have been detrimental over the long term to the growth of the vocabulary of all types of music.
Well, race records, was one of the first terms I heard, and it was segregated, and we had 3 radio stations. There was a country western station, there was a rock station, and there was a black station. And the black station played the rhythm. It had become by the late 50s, and it had become rhythm and blues and blues, and that was our favorite radio station. Terminology, it's subjective. When now rhythm and blues means something totally different than it did when we were young. It was Ray Charles, it was Bobby Bland, it was Jimmy Reed, it was Slim, it was Slim Harper, it was all these Latin Hopkins, all these Muddy, all these Bo Diddley, it was, they happened to be black, but the music, it's what we call rhythm and blues, is, labels. It's hard for me to say that they've been detrimental, but they can be misleading. And now what people call rhythm and blues is not what I consider to be rhythm and blues, but it's what people think of as rhythm and blues. I remember hearing somebody call Billy Ocean rhythm and blues, and I was thinking, well, that's not really rhythm and blues,
But, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. But also, it's like, I just think the stratification of it hinders people from taking chances because they think they're supposed to be locked into a certain genre when in fact it's all music. It's either good or bad, And
yes,
you and
maybe so.
Yeah, I mean Delbert. Can you talk about the idea of? I mean, even today, Delbert's on a tour in Pennsylvania. You're still collaborating with him. For younger cat, I notice a lot of cats out there. Anyone listening around the world who's striving to be an originalist, someone who's trying to be an independent, just do their own thing. How do you work as a team, a singer, songwriter, musician team? How have you and Delbert managed to work so well decade after decade after decade? And then on top of that, putting out albums that really will stand the test of time. I mean, someone said the Delbert Glen album, to me, that's like a tearjerker album. I don't think, to me, I'm not sure if Willie Nelson or Chris Christopherson or anybody did a better album than the stuff that you did in the early 70s. And I just wonder if you could talk to younger cats, people listening all over the world, how to work as a good team.
Well, we've got mutual respect for each other. I think we both love what each other does. I think, I love the way Delbert sings. I think he loves the way I sing. I love his taste in music. I love the way he plays the harmonica. I really love the way he phrased his music. So he's been a big influence on me, and I think I've been an influence on him. And I don't think we've ever really, it's one of those things where we didn't see each other as, it wasn't really a competition with us. It was more like a team thing. It wasn't I was trying to outdo him or he was trying to outdo me. It was, we were trying to do something that we both loved. And we loved singing together. We loved playing together. We loved hanging out together. It's just been a great friendship. And that was always at the core of it, more than the music, maybe. The fact that we've been really, we're still just really best friends, really, in a way that if we've got one of us having a heavy thing going on, it's just a few words from the other guy really is probably as comforting, or it means as much as a spouse or as anyone else. It's just it's a camaraderie, it's a fellowship, it's a friendship, a love for each other and what we do and what we love, and a mutual respect that over the years has just grown to a point where we just now when we're together it's like we've never been apart, and old friends are that way, I guess, but he's like a big brother to me. He really is, and I gotta say that when I go hear him sing and hear him do his show, 75 minutes of music, I really don't know that many people can stand up there and belt it out like he does every night.
Yeah.
He is a boss, So I think I just admire the heck out of him.
Can you talk about a time in your career, Glenn, when you faced adversity, how you overcame it, and how it made you a better person and musician?
Well, I guess there's been enough, more than one. I think I've had downtime or low points in my life where I didn't have direction and I didn't have. I wasn't, in a situation where I was thriving, and music was always there for me as a way to pull myself out of the hole. I've been in situations where I was doing things where I felt like I was compromising my music in terms. I remember working with Christopherson, and Chris, well, commercial was a dirty word to Chris. Just for the sake of writing, just for the sake of commerciality, was a real no-no. And I remember being, not having been married very long and having a young family and trying to make money and kind of figuring out a way, I'll do this to make money in the music business. And I think I would get detoured or off the sidetrack trying to worry about the almighty dollar as opposed to just worrying about the song and really loving what you do. So coming back to loving what you do kind of would bring me back. I've had low points with my father was not really happy with my choices, and oddly enough, after I worked with Bonnie Raitt for many, when I went to work with Bonnie asked me to go to work with her right after she did Nick's time there, and when I told my father that I was going to work, and he really kind of still, although I'd been successful, he was not really happy with my choice. And when I told him I'd come to work with Bonnie Raitt, he said, "Oh, you went to work for John Waite's daughter." I mean, that made it all right. It was like I was legitimate to him, man. You know, it was like, that was like, wow, Dad. You know, I mean, I love John Wright, and I got to meet and be around John Wright a good deal. But to me, it was vindication for what I've done in a way that, you know, it's really kind of roundabout way that my dad kind of came around and said, "Okay, my boy's okay," you know, and I really haven't had a terrible amount of adversity, apart from, you know, hard times, and music's always been there for me to work my way out of those hard times. I mean, you can get lost in the music and not sweat the small stuff, you know.
No, I dig. I mean, I've done all, you know, a couple of the Meters and Dr. John from New Orleans. I've talked to guys like Les Dudek and Butch Trucks and cats from Florida. Then you go up and, you know, I've done East Coast jazz and the Chicago, the Northern Soul out to Los Angeles. Did 2 interviews with Bill Cosby about his involvement in music, and then whole San Francisco scene. I couldn't think of asking a better person. Could you describe the regional sound of Texas? What was the Texas sound when Glen and Delbert were cooking the groove back in the day? What was that sound?
Well, it was a combination of country, rhythm and blues, soul music. What I call it Texas soul.
Texas soul. I love. All right, so we got what is Texas soul, and also more specifically, what I should have said was everything. You know, there were rhythms. The rhythms were different. Okay, and so can you talk about the rhythm of Texas soul? It wasn't just 4/4 time. It wasn't just a shuffle. I just want you to break that down because I'm very fascinated with human rhythm.
Well, when you mention the Meters, of course, New Orleans, Louisiana, there was a lot of Louisiana influence in there. There was regional, all the black acts, the touring black acts, they made that Chitlin circuit. Well, they came through the Jacksboro Highway, and they brought with them, you would have inventive players that rhythmically were different. We, of course, you think of Bo Diddley, you think of Chuck Berry, Jimmy Reed, in a way, was such a big influence. And part of it was that you wanted to get a groove going that was not boring, but it was exciting, and it didn't overpower the music, but it gave it intensity, and so I think it was a melting pot for the different types of the second line feel thrown in with the shuffles and the backbeats, and of course you had North Texas there in Denton, which was a jazz coast. So we like sophisticated things as well, although we weren't really adept at playing those things. We were exposed to a broad spectrum of music, and I think our music reflected that. They termed it progressive country and other different things, but it was kind of like a combination of Hank Williams and Fats Domino. There were all kinds of influences on it from all kinds of regions that came through. We heard via that Jacksboro Highway Chitlin circuit, and so that was one of the things that was important to us, was giving it a rhythm that made it a little like. And I'm thinking that song, "Let Me Be Your Lover." Delbert was really adept at that, and giving his phrasing and his Delbert was a wannabe drummer. He used to play. He played drums a little bit, but he had a drum kit, and he's hard on drummers because he's a wannabe drummer.
He's a wannabe. I didn't realize he was a wannabe drummer.
Oh, he hadn't tried in a long time, but years ago he played drums and had a practice set. And, he liked playing the drums. And that was, I think he was really hipper at that than I was. I mean, he really enlightened me to the importance of that, or to the freedom of that, the expressiveness of the rhythm, and he's very rhythmic. You can hear his harmonica playing. He is really so he messes with that groove. You know, I think that the influence of the artists that we heard were really instrumental in us using different rhythms and wanting to have a driving groove and be a little bit more inventive or creative with the rhythm in songs. Then we had been the straight country, and a lot of the stuff we had originally been exposed to was pretty square in a way, and we kind of liked that groove. You hear that Little Richard pumping, or those you hear those grooves. That groove moves you, as well as those vocals and lyrics. So it became a real part of the process of creating something that you like, finding the right rhythm for it, the tempo.
Did you ever cross paths with the dirt farmer Levon Helm?
Oh yeah, but not a lot. But yes, I never really worked with him, but I was a huge fan, and he's one of those guys that rhythmically was just he really did a lot of what we like to do. Back then the Ronnie Hawkins, and I spent more time with Ronnie Hawkins than I did Levon.
Oh, you talk about Ronnie, because I've interviewed Ronnie. I mean that dude. That dude. I mean the Kate brother. To me, Levon. The reason I bring up, he had that driving, unique, individualistic style of drumming, and just talk about. Did you play alongside the Hawks on a double bill? To me, you guys were causing all sorts of trouble down there.
Well, I did not. I didn't play with Hawk until Canada many years later.
Wow!
But we were aware of him, and he was an influence on us. And Levon certainly was an influence on us, as well as all the bands. I mean, Big Pink was a big record in my book with the band, and Levon's singing and playing is right there. It's among my favorite players and singers. I love the way he sings, love the way he plays, and it's all about the groove, but it's like, Delbert said one time when his son Clay made his first record, and Delbert told me, he said, Clay had played the record for him and asked him what he thought, and Delbert said, well, I think you need to cut one of the drummer's arms off.
Oh my God.
And what he was saying was that, being a drummer, it's easy to play a lot of crap, but boy, playing the groove and making it interesting, not keeping it from getting boring and being inventive, but all the while being really simple and solid. That's the trick, and that's what Levon had. That's what Ringo had. Those guys, they don't play real fancy, although they could probably play fancier than they do. But what they do is they make the song happen with what they do, and that's what it's about. And that to me is the importance of a good drummer is he can play simple, yet it's not boring. It's not like boom chick. It just keeps coming boom chick. It's real hard to do. It's hard not to be boring and be simple, keep it simple. But I think if you can do that, then you're much more powerful. It's very expansive. It makes everything sound much bigger.
We wrap up set one here, Glenn. I just wanted to ask you, in your opinion, the health of the touring circuit in the United States of America today.
Oh, that's tough. But you know what? I'm encouraged. I think that because of digital downloads and the devaluation of the mechanical of record sales has gone away for the writer, and for that whole source of income for the artist and the writer on sales is now you're making your money doing live performance and selling merch. So it's not what I would love it to be, but the importance, I think, is back on the live performance. When we first started, the live performance was the thing. And records said, everybody put out a new single. You'd put out a single a week if you could, you know.
Right.
And sales were of singles and not so much albums. And then it became where albums were multi-platinum, and it became a big, there was a lot of mechanical income coming from album sales at one point. That's gone away. And now I think it's become a thing where you have a fan base and you go out and play, and that live performance has a whole new premium on it because you can't digitally. It can't be. I was there. I heard that. That was it. And it's not something that can be just. It's become devalued by being anybody can get it and copy it, and it's just. It's changed the face of the business. So, I wish there were more. I wish there were more and better venues, but I think that the hurdles and the obstacles are part of it, and that overcoming those and getting after it makes you better, and it separates the wheat from the chaff. So, I wish there were more and better venues for starting out bands, but I'm encouraged by the fact that there is, I think, a premium on the live performance nowadays, where it used to be, getting the album was, boy, that was really important. Now you don't really get the album anymore. People, it's not, it's like Delbert talking. It's hard to get anybody excited about buying an album.
Well, and part of it is, like you said, it's interesting. I think we need to pick up on this in part two. But Glenn, it's an honor. I mean, to be able to interview you and Delbert both in 1 week. It's a major accomplishment for me, and I'd love to pick up on this conversation down the road, my friend.
Well, Jake, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Anytime. And before I go, I want to say one thing. I went on your Facebook page, and I saw some beautiful women in your life, buddy. I got to tell you that I saw a couple of girls, two young ladies, a woman and two young ladies that I just thought were so beautiful and happening.
Well, so I mean, God bless you, man. They are my inspiration for doing. My show is all about love, and it all came from them. So,
I tell you, you have a beautiful family. I just was really tickled when I saw your kiddos' pictures, your wife and kids. It really tickled me.
Hey, man.
You got some good-looking kids. I love you.
Okay, man.
Really, you're a little baby girl, man. I tell you what, that gal, I just fell in love with her just seeing her. I mean, I'm telling you.
Well, believe me, I'm just trying to stay out of her way because she's way beyond me, man. And but listen, Glenn, let's connect again soon, man. We got more to do, okay?
Thanks so much for having me, Jack. I appreciate it.
All right, bless you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Back at you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And we'll be right back with Jerry Goodman on the Jake Feinberg Show.